Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Good morning, everybody. I have to apologize, I'm a little bit late, but somebody was wrong on the internet and had to be corrected. Anyways, we have an interesting day here ahead of us, and there's actually some trade going back and forth here too. Oh, how interesting. But when we started, we were falling. That's interesting. Okay, well, to the chart to explain why this is kind of weird. So, keep in mind, last week, kind of selling every day, ending down. Yesterday, they were able to hold up a spot, a 1/2. They held it, and we ended around here. And then overnight, they made another attempt at it and failed. And now we've pushed a little bit higher. So there's reason for people to believe that downtrend may be over, or that we might start to have an uptrend. And when you come over here and we look at the numbers here, well, 3,000 is not a ton on that sell there. But then down in here, 4,000 selling into this and it holding at 7.5. And now we're moving higher again. I think you can buy that. Not entirely sure. It's kind of weird. And what is the E-mini doing here? The E-mini had a little bit of a dive. The E-mini had a little bit of a dive and has recovered. Now, if I come over here to Twitter, did Donald Trump just delete and repost a tweet? He did. So the tweet that I saw was something like, why are people that I've never heard of before testifying? Why don't they just read the transcript? But he looks like he thought better of that and replaced it with, where's the whistleblower? Just read the transcript. Everything else is made up garbage by Shifty Shift and the Never Trumpers. Well, that's kind of curious. Anyways, Winston, good morning. Hey, I haven't seen you in a few days. Yesterday was quite interesting to observe what a day on the market. Your date needs to be changed? Yes, always. I always forget. Well, I usually don't change it until I come in here and everything, but stream, YouTube. Okay, and now is a good time to point out that I have an article here. Let me just link you guys. Okay, so it is the 29th, right? Yes, it's the 29th. And here it's in the video description, but I'm going to give it to you guys here in chat. Boom, boom, boom. And I'll do it again around the market open, but I wrote an article for Optimal Futures. I think it's a pretty good article, especially if you're new to level 2. And so I would highly encourage you guys to read that article. And if you have any questions, you can comment on the article. So feel free to do that. And also, we need to turn on the robot. Can you believe we actually got the robot to last the whole session yesterday? But I was only able to do that because I let it wait forever. Anyways. See, I think you buy this, but I don't know about the spot. Especially since we just got a little bit, well, it was a 1500 spike. I don't know. And look here in the ZB afterwards, and now it's spiking. It seems like they want to buy it. Now, the problem here is that I don't see any clear reason why. The do-nothing Democrats are working hard to make everyone forget the best economy ever, the monumental weekend raid, the tax cuts, the rebuilding of our military, etc. Impeachment hoax is a disgrace. Read the transcript. Meanwhile, Prime Minister spokesman said it would be administratively impossible to register 16 and 17-year-olds in time for a pre-Christmas election, and it would cause administrative chaos to give the vote between 2.4 and 3 million EU citizens. Okay. Beyond Meat pukes in pre-market amid downgrades, lock-up expiration. Ooh, everybody's selling. Yeah, when the more people are allowed to sell, yes, it goes down. It does. What else? Donald Trump and Xi Jinping set for November 17th in Chile to sign interim trade war deal. Hey, that's good. I don't see much of anything else. Okay. Need to turn on this so it'll read stuff for us. Bada boom. Okay, well, anyways, would I feel confident enough to buy 08.5? Well, there are more buyers there, but there was this spot 09.5 was where they got stuck before. I don't know. I think in the longer run it's a buy, but can I buy it in this one particular spot? It's not enough to know. It is kind of pushing it though. Well, that would not be enough for me to take a trade, so I think I will hold off on that. I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think about if I just did something like this? How would that work? We need to be more. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I could see it working, but things just don't quite line up for that to work. You guys can see me fine anyways, right? Boris Johnson, spokesman, a December 9th election is not logistically possible. So when are you going to have it?
Winstan's mom says you're cute in any size, Seth.
Thanks.
Lol, good morning. I am observing today and will stay out of your way. Tuesday is for traders.
Yeah, Tuesday we could have some good movement today. Well, and look, we did move up at 09, so they're saying get on board. I don't know. Well, I mean, it could still peter out at 10. I don't know. This is a tough trade, but somebody is definitely buying. The whole thing here is the interesting thing about this setup, guys, is that we got an FOMC meeting tomorrow, and this trend is coming out, and I don't see any clear reason for it. Well, hold on. Let's check here. Let's double check on the news. Was there some overnight? Okay, so we don't have a whole. Oh, we have consumer confidence at 8. Okay, that can be important. I don't see any euro stuff. Let's just add all of the currencies here, just for kicks and giggles. M for money supply, mortgage approvals, net lending to individuals. Okay. But the gist of that is I don't see any significant economic numbers. So what is the cause of the change in trend? Is it just the inability to get around a 1/2?
Uzi Knesset says mornin'.
Good morning, Uzi.
Jay Constance says hello Bitcoin looking bullish.
Yeah, it does look pretty bullish. Well, I mean, the thing is, I don't know how far it's going to go, but I certainly wouldn't be trying to short Bitcoin at the moment. Maybe in a month or two, like I certainly would be looking for that end of year selling at some point. And that's kind of the problem is like your risk reward here isn't very good in Bitcoin. Like, does it make sense? We could, the highest that my calculations say they can support is 1200. 1200, and then you're risking catastrophic collapse again. And I mean, it's already overbought. So I would just be careful because it's sitting up here is, I think, trying to entice people into buying. Now, I don't think that they're trying to entice people into buying so that they can slam it lower. I think that they want to make a profit on, a diminishing. They're kind of stuck and they're kind of getting a diminishing return here, I think. And it's sitting here below 1,000 is also a little concerning. So, but I still think in the short term they could maybe move up a little bit. I mean, there is some buying in the futures, right? So when the futures start selling it all the time is when you start to, like this thing. Like this thing is a great example. They were just selling it the whole time. Well, I'm not getting any too huge of a read here either. Let's see. Maybe there's something in the spreads that will. Okay. The knob, the 2 and 10 came off a little bit, but no big deal. Actually, all of these kind of did after that. Okay. And what about the knob? The knob is incredibly noisy up here. They've been up in this area for a while. They could move down. So, okay, so that lets us know something important. If we're gonna move up, if we're gonna continue to move up, and the spreads continue to move in the directions that they've been doing, then you will see it move more in the 30-year. But at the moment, that doesn't appear to be what we're seeing. Maybe I should reset it just so we can track that a little bit better. Man, so yesterday, Um, we did uh, squat ladders at the gym because we just finished with a competition. So now we go back into like conditioning stuff. So it was like you do one, then you do two, and we all the way to 10. And I got to 10 and I was done. And my hamstrings are so sore, and the rest of me is all just ugh. I don't feel super great right now. Look at that, $3.99, $157 on the offer. They're not necessarily hitting it. They seem to think that there is an iceberg in there. It's one that you could take for a short as well. I'm getting like a move here, but I think it's because of the iceberging. Okay, so they tick it up. And they trade into 09.5. Oh, that actually, they never traded into 08.5. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't read that right. So how much? Okay, so there's been 5,000 bought. Ooh. So at first it kind of looked like a sell. In the context, it kind of looks like a sell, but then when you look at the volume in that area, that's risky. And the 5-year ticks up. Why is this off? Oh, we fixed this yesterday. Sometimes Jigsaw doesn't remember your changes, so it's kind of annoying.
Wimmer Kevin says, man, this time change really messes up my lunchtime. Still cooking at us open, CL-ing in 20 minutes. 3 more days to go, lol.
So did Europe already change? Is that what the deal is? That would maybe make sense. That makes sense. Yes, and they don't change. We don't change until next weekend. Like the first week in November. Which is kind of weird because we used to change in
Kevin
October.
Says, yeah, last Sunday.
Yeah, last Sunday. Yeah, we don't change until next Sunday. And you're right. It totally messes with the markets, right? Like things don't line up the same.
Jay Constant says, do you think Tether will be brought to justice? So yes, when?
Well, it sure looks like the New York Attorney General is generally making progress in that case. I haven't heard anything about it recently, and kind of the thing that's so weird is the guy that I was kind of really following for that kind of stuff is just completely disappeared. The Bitfinex guy has completely disappeared. Isn't that interesting? I need to move this over a little bit. Let's see if we can find anything about it. Past week. Bitfinex tools. Anytime. Let's just look for the past week. The story so far. News story that's just been kind of all over the place. Well, there's no new information on it. I think that they're still just waiting on something, for the next shoe to drop or whatever. But like that's the whole thing is I don't know when the next key point is, but they probably have some room up until mid-December. Just seasonally speaking, So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin try and make a move from here. It's just they don't have a whole lot of room on the upside.
Jay Constant says, have you heard about Liberty OS?
No, I haven't heard about that. That's a new thing. Is it just an OS that has a lot of you don't even get anything you search for it. No useful results, at least. Hmm.
Wimmer Kevin says, so I am curious about your routine when the market opens. Do you mark important level like overnight, yesterday's high and lows, weekly levels? Do you watch what the overnight did and change your plans?
Okay, so I have a little indicator. You come in here.
Wimmer Kevin says, for example, trend day in the overnight, or double distribution near an important level and so on?
I haven't typically... Oh, I need to fix that. Fix that. It was set up to look at the wrong thing. This is CF. Okay. Clear a load. Dude. How come I don't get anything for CF? ZF. Right there. Let's just refresh this page and see if it'll... Okay. Exported to... There we go. Okay, so that gives me all of the different things that I look at. Previous close, opening range low, opening range high, bull bear zone. That's interesting that becomes the bull bear zone. Previous low, 0.5. It's actually relatively tight when you really look at it. And that T, I don't remember why I put that T there, but oh no, that was the target. That was the target, huh? Okay. So those are kind of the things that I'll look at. I pay very particular attention to where we opened at, which in this case was around 07. I usually don't mark it, but I always know where it is because I have it on a chart. So that's the first thing that I look at is, are we above the open or low? Are we above the opening range, high, low? Are we above the bull bear zone, high, low? And those are kind of things that I'll look at. But then if you miss the little bit, I always kind of go through and say, okay, here's the chart. Here's what I see, right? So when I came in this morning, I said, okay, this 0.5 area, it was really stingy yesterday and they recovered. So that's what happened yesterday is we bounced. And now overnight, they tried again and failed and have pushed higher. And we're getting a distribution slightly higher than yesterday on the volume profile. And I can see this spread's kind of coming back a little bit. So there is evidence of a trend reversal, because that's the main thing we're trying to figure out is like, what is the longer term trend, right? All the way from basically from here to here, the longer term trend was down. Okay. But now that we're getting a move like this, that's possibly a trend reversal. Alligator, in my opinion, yesterday moved us too low, especially with implied probability of a rate cut. So we're rebalancing maybe a bit more this morning. So here, now I'm interested, because Alligator said that. Hold on, let's fix this monitor first. There we go. So, CME group. FedWatch. Cool, it works this time. Okay, so they have a 96% chance of there being another cut to 150.17 So then in December, they see 75% chance. They see a 20% chance of another cut. And I just think that maybe that chance is more. But, there might not be another cut. They might just do quantitative easing instead. So that doesn't, but him, is totally right that Google, Facebook, and Twitter need to work harder to combat disinformation on their platforms, the EAO says. No, they don't. I don't understand. People say wrong things all the time, and you know what happens? Is other users will come out and say, hey, that's wrong, and counter it. Why does the platform have to do that? They don't. There was so much disinformation back in the 2000s going the other way. All of this stuff about, the government did 9/11 and these sorts of things. You didn't hear anybody complaining back then. I know this is a little segue away from the markets, but come on. Laura Ingram. On Inauguration Day 2017, Team Trump has zero idea how many career staff working inside the administration.
Wimmer Kevin says tomorrow will be interesting in the stocks.
Yeah.
FOMC plus Facebook and Apple earnings.
No idea how many inside the administration, White House, state, IC, other agencies would be working 24/7 to undermine his agenda. That's a Donald Trump retweeting her. Well, it might be really interesting. It might not. I don't know. The thing is that I really thought last time that the Federal Reserve would address a couple of things, and they really didn't. They really didn't, did they? And so now maybe they're going to address them today. But then the question becomes, what are they going to say that's going to be different from the current market expectation? Because I think that the market expects that they're probably going to have to put more money out there, and that they're going to say, we did our mid-cycle adjustment. So you might get this sort of a thing where, you get a little bit of volatility just because it's FOMC, but then in aggregate, we don't move very much. Much like a couple of the past FOMC meetings. But there's this possibility that they come out and they say something completely unexpected that really moves us significantly. And I can see scenarios where they are both more hawkish and more dovish than expected as well. So it would be really hard to judge that. And then you're saying Facebook and Apple earnings, those are important. I mean, Apple is kind of right now the bellwether as to, China trade disruption. And I suspect
Trade says morning.
I suspect that it's not going to look too good for them. But again, how moves this, I don't really see a potential like call going into it. Well, the Treasury market, when I opened, I said, okay, something's happening. But now here in this first 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's not very interesting. I see Ace coming in and I'm thinking, well, maybe we could do something in the E-mini. But what's the E-mini going to do? I mean, they're going to buy this again. They could do that. Or they could decide to just puke and like fall apart again. Them's latest impeachment witness advised Ukrainian government. Kellyanne Conway advises the Washington, retweeting the Washington Examiner, close your eyes and pretend that al-Baghdadi worked in the Trump White House and then rewrite your obituary. I bet you wouldn't be as kind. Oh, man. I saw some crazy conspiracy theory kind of stuff about that yesterday. They were saying, this one guy said, hey, Nancy Pelosi, she went over to, the Middle East last week and a trip to for some foreign policy stuff. Maybe she was meeting with al-Baghdadi, and that's why we were able to find him, is she led us right to him. That is like total nonsense, right? Nancy Pelosi, I don't like Nancy Pelosi, but she would never do something like that. Totally crazy, unfounded conspiracy theory. But it is kind of funny to think about, isn't it? I can see why people would be saying that. For Taleb, skin in the game is an expression of intellectual virtue. One isn't actually thinking well if one doesn't have some sense of accountability for the outcomes of one's judgment acts. Freaking absolutely. Freaking absolutely. Isn't that really the big problem? When you think about all of the stuff that goes on in the media and stuff, the things that people are complaining about, isn't really the problem is that people can say whatever the heck they want and there's no accountability? Like this Paul Krugman saying, that the markets wouldn't look good if Donald Trump was president. Or these other guys, one guy said he sold everything because Donald Trump won. Why are these people?
Trade says at Uzi Knesset morning. You see anything?
So even Ace is a little bit like doesn't necessarily see. And then we're kind of in a spot. I don't know, guys. Oh, that's interesting. I have the open marked from when the Treasuries opened. Well,
Ace Trade says maybe a short at 3,034.50.
I can see, one thing I can see is that overall they appear to be selling. So do you see here, these are orange? I don't know if you can see that very well. Oh no, I'm
Wimmer Kevin says, man, I really want a long crude, but way too close to the open.
You see how my cumulative delta?
Dojo says, saw a headline saying Nate Silver said the Dems won't even let Trump have one good day. Uzi Knesset says, not yet, to be honest. I'm thinking ZB has a better chance of extending the range up by a few ticks, but the RTH open was kinda tepid, so I'm waiting in the weeds too.
Yeah. No, the E-mini cumulative delta is all negative though, despite this whoosh and come back up. So that must have been short covering or something like that. And not all of the shorts covered. I don't know. Kind of interesting. And here in in ZN. Okay, so here we were here when we started, we got this.
Uzi Knesset says at Dojo, that's so true, lol.
There was, we saw a little bit of buying in 9, and so we said, okay, maybe they are going to continue forward, but then there's this 10.5, and I don't know if they get above that. And now you can see, are they trading as much? No, they're not. See, this one was 4, 3, 2, 1. Like it's decreasing volume through this range. So we're all kind of sitting here seeing like, okay, we have a setup, but nothing's happening out of it. I don't think that that's a good sign for a good trade today. But we should stay engaged, because this is a situation where something really unexpected could happen, I want to see where Nate Silver said what you were doing. Nate Silver Twitter. He was saying some uncharacteristic things yesterday. Yeah, he did. What was the last thing? Not everything I tweet is meant to be taken literally. A lot is sarcastic, contextual, trollish, etc., or spitballing ideas in real time, but I can't really expect you all to know which things are in which categories. So I think I need to stick to more literal-minded tweets, to be honest. I do think the groupthink on here kind of sucks. I'm just going to keep more of that stuff to myself, or talk about it on our podcast and articles at 538, etc. People think you're a contrarian if you're only like 0.6%. 0.6 correlated with the conventional wisdom, because most people are at 0.9. He's totally right about that. Nate Silver is an interesting person to me because he's in the same business, right? It's an analytical approach to, well, in particular politics, but I don't think he really does markets, but I think that he would enjoy that too. Of course, then he would have to be held accountable for when his picks are right or wrong, huh? But he's very liberal, and there's a very obvious bias that comes out in his analysis, just like there's a very obvious bias that comes out in my analysis, But the difference between my analysis and his is that his is like, okay, I ran the numbers and this is what we think, and he holds pretty religiously to that, whereas I'm always coming in here and saying, this kind of analysis is really limited, especially over short-term time frames. And so here are all of the reasons why we could be dead wrong. So they ticked down there, but now they ticked back up, and there wasn't a whole lot of interest in them selling 9. They didn't really give them much of a chance either, though. I don't know about that. That could be a reason for them to push higher, but I would have thought that they would have held it down there a little bit longer. It only took 781 to make it tick up too. Schiller 20 City House Price Index up 2.03% year over year versus a 2.1% expected. So positive for Treasuries. Let me just get the month over month number here. Oh no, it is only a yearly number. So 2.0 versus 2.1 expected. That's not good. That means that home prices aren't moving as much, and that could give Treasuries reason to move a little bit higher. To the thing of Dems won't even let Trump have one good day, I find it incredibly curious that I have not heard almost anything about al-Baghdadi getting killed. Anywhere other, like on the Donald subreddit. Let me back up. When Osama bin Laden was killed, that was like all you saw on Reddit that day. Was all these people gloating that it was Obama that killed him.
Uzi Knesset says Washington Post wrote up a really glowing obituary of him.
Oh yeah, we get to that in a second. But it was all over Reddit, and it was all over my Facebook, and all of the liberal people were like so happy. And remember all of those videos of people dancing in front of having a party in front of the White House because Osama bin Laden got killed? Remember this? Now, this al-Baghdadi guy has not been as famous.
Uzi Knesset says only changed the headline 3 times.
Yeah.
Pretty solid journalism.
Right. There was no party in front of the White House. And then you get this Washington Post thing is like, listen, so related thing, okay? Liberals are incensed, and I mean absolutely incensed, that Facebook has included Breitbart as a potential source for news stories in their new Facebook news feature. Ooh, that was a big iceberg that they ran into in a downtick. They can't stand that they're like, that's all right wing propaganda, because they've lied. People have lied about Breitbart being, they did a little expose over we would say extreme elements of the far right that have kind of been pushed outside of the mainstream, and some of that includes the racist groups and so forth. And so then they say, oh, well, they're supporting Nazis. It's not really. They're kind of being a little deceptive there, I think, with that. Misinformed.
Uzi Knesset says Breitbart is actually pretty well rated by NewsGuard. Even as a more right-wing guy, I was surprised by that, lol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. I haven't looked at them in a while, but NewsGuard is an organization that they will look at, a news organization, and they'll rate them by their right-wing or left-wing bias, and Breitbart actually comes out pretty good. But this the thing is that Breitbart sticks pretty good to the news, and they are absolutely, without question, a mouthpiece for the president. But they're pretty open about when they're doing that. They'll say, here is a thing that we're posting because it was given to us by X or whatever,
Wimmer Kevin says the German media outlets only said that it was claimed he got killed. They said over the years there were several claims al-Baghdadi died.
Well, that is true. There was a couple of times where they thought that maybe he had died in an airstrike and they couldn't confirm if he actually died. And they thought that he was probably at the very least wounded. But this time, this was like a special forces operation where he died. Like there's video of him out somewhere turning into mist, okay? He definitely died. No, but I'll tell you what, Breitbart is pretty right-wing though, right? And a lot of what the stories that they post that are right-wing are like, here is the inside scoop on the messaging that the White House is going to be doing going forward on X thing or Y thing, right? They do that all the time, okay? The Washington Post, on the other hand, is like full on, like every piece of news that they post, man.
Uzi Knesset
Oh my
says that's
gosh.
the thing that gets me about this presidential cycle. I know Trump is a turd. I know he's a bloviating jerk who makes me cringe when I hear him speak. But good lord, if this guy endorsed Uzi Knesset says oxygen, the media would tell us to stop breathing.
Right. Now, what they're doing at the Washington Post is like every single piece of news, every single piece of coverage that comes out of that news outlet is anti-Trump and trying to push a Democrat line. It was like they watched the Huffington Post and how much success the Huffington Post got when they were towing the Democrat line, that they became the new Huffington Post. And you notice that the Huffington Post isn't, nobody cares anymore. Huffington Post is kind of dying. I'm telling you. And it's just crazy to me that they're totally okay with the Washington Post being a source, but not Breitbart. It seems to me to be like completely off, out of touch with reality.
Uzi Knesset says if there is anything revealing about a Trump presidency, it's that there is most definitely a political media class that wants us to go a certain direction and will stop at nothing to make it happen.
Well, the problem that I see is that I don't think that the political class realizes this. I don't think they're aware of how
Kevin
biased
says they had
are.
to close Huffington Post in Germany because it was so bad. I mean, incredible bad.
I used to hate the Huffington Post. I remember back when it was Dig, and you'd get on there, and like 9 of the top 10 stories were the Huffington Post. And then all of the liberals were like, it's completely organic. Bull crap. This is a website nobody's ever heard of before. It's only been out like 6 months, and it's at the top of the page.
Says at Kevin a lot of progressive digital media outlets are collapsing due to oversupply these days.
Well, yeah, that's true too. And because I don't really think that people enjoy it. Here's the problem with the way that they're playing the news right now, right? The news right now, it's all about getting you triggered. It's the controversy. It's like, oh, Donald Trump did another crazy thing. I need to read that because I really hate that guy. Then you go and you read the story. The problem with that is it gets exhausting after a while. Especially when people are like in a full-on like mass hysteria for 2 whole freaking years. Yeah, they get tired of it. How many people do you know on your social media, especially liberal people, that have had to take a break from social media, or they've had to take a break from politics?
Uzi Knesset says content over the last 7 to 10 years. Uzi Knesset says they're a dime a dozen. While right-wing media is obviously biased, progressive media better understands algorithmic search priority, and they've been chasing the algos with more and more alarmist.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they have a pretty well-established underground network of social media operatives to help spread their message. It's so effective that people in the media are parroting that underground network's narrative without even realizing it. That's what's crazy to me. And so you have all these people that are posting all of this anti-Trump, nonstop sort of a thing, and they think that they're just doing what they're supposed to. They're just reporting the news. They don't realize that everything that they're reporting is geared towards trying to get people to think a certain way, because they've already been brainwashed into thinking that certain way and thinking that that's just the way that it is. Isn't that crazy? And it's been like that for decades. But now with social media, you can very, very obviously see how it's going down. But I would say that this stuff really started with Nixon. So the Democrats had control of everything for a long, long, long time. And then when Nixon came along, it was like the media had to come out and destroy people. So if you go back and you look at some of the news coverage of Nixon, disregard the impeachment thing because that's a different story. But just look at how Nixon was treated on the Vietnam War, for instance. Nixon ended the Vietnam War. He ended the Vietnam War, and they protested him over.
It says, honestly, algorithmic prioritizing of digital media is kind of what led us to this madness we're experiencing now in general.
Yeah. I do think things were a little bit better.
Algo Lover says, GM winking face.
Good morning, Algo Lover. You still, your bias is still short in the Treasury. So it seems like we're getting a pretty good uptrend, but it's like already petering out. So maybe it's a short, but overall, though, this just doesn't look like a market that I want to trade. Maybe there's just no reason for them to trade it because they don't really know what's going to happen before FOMC. I bet you tomorrow they come out and they make a couple of moves, but that it's still kind of choppy because there will be disagreement over what's going to happen. Anyways. And I don't. Yeah.
Uzi Knesset says it is a borefest right now. May have to focus more on our stocks today, lol.
Yeah.
Algo Lover says, reminder, 2:20 p.m. ZN if sellers hold a bounce below 129, 145, then 128, 285 target. If 129, 145 goes bid before trading down, then anticipate a squeeze higher, nerd face.
It's 14.5. And 28.5 is the target. See, it's kind of funny because it's a wide range. It's
Winston's mom says, go back and look at how Nixon was treated. That would mean I am in high school, so okay. I will happily time travel. Do you know who Roger Stone is? Good morning, Ace and all Tuesday traders.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Wimmer Kevin says also went back to gold because didn't like the other markets.
Listen.
Uzi Knesset says at Algo Lover your comments always come with a timestamp. Where are you posting the originals? Lol. Winston's mom says 11 watching now. Please hit like. Algo Lover says this is the bounce, so we'll see face with rolling eyes.
I think he puts a timestamp because he mentioned it somewhere else earlier. He mentioned it earlier, and that's why he put the timestamp on it. Is to tell you when he originally said that. Anyways, no, listen, Nixon was great at playing the slime bucket game.
Good morning, Sir Ace of Trades.
Roger Stone, find a damaging story on your opponent and then put that out there and use that. They totally messed around in the market, and Roger Stone was kind of the way that he became so famous was he was really good at finding the dirt on people and telling them how to put it out there to get maximum exposure. Okay, but
Algo Lover says at Uzi Knesset that one was to Seth, but you will see them on Benzinga and my group. Okay, hand.
Oh, okay. But on the coverage of the Vietnam War, the thing that I find interesting looking back at it and the news coverage that I've been able to see, and I've done a bit of an investigation about this and I've watched a lot of documentaries on it, was that the anti-war fever was like the strongest when Richard Nixon was president. Like the whole, what was the campus where the National Guard shot some students and was like way overdone? That all happened during Nixon. And here's the thing. Nixon got into office saying that he was going to end the Vietnam War, and he did what he said he was going to do. Now, of course, they did move into Cambodia because they had an opportunity to do something there, and that probably helped. But in the end, Nixon pulled out.
Ace Trade says Kent State.
Kent State, yeah. That's it. The anti-war fever was the highest when it was Nixon, not when it was LBJ. And I mean, man, LBJ was the one that he made so many poor decisions during the Vietnam War. I mean, really, it was really unfortunate. I think things would have been very different in Vietnam if Kennedy had not been assassinated. And they assassinated Kennedy at a pretty critical juncture foreign policy wise there as well. Nobody, the media never, kind of only just sort of started to question, what was going on in the war. And then when it was Nixon, it was like, this is an improper war and all of these sorts of things. It was because it was for like the first time in like 20 years that a Republican was in power, and they just went after him. And now, ever since then, it's been like that, right? They really didn't like Reagan. They really didn't like Bush. Now they really don't like Trump.
Alga Lover says at Wimmer Kevin my .02 on gold GC coming into this week down finger. Alga Lover says 10.27406 p.m. GC buyers will need to regain a bid above 1528 before changing the short-term trend, range bound to lower until thumbs up.
But see, my point was that it's become so ingrained in the culture because this stuff really started back during World War II with FDR. Like FDR, they did the propaganda thing during World War II and stuff like that. There was like right-wing radio hosts and stuff that really opposed him, and he kind of did some shifty stuff to silence them. Okay. And at that point, the culture had been ingrained into the media industry. So the media industry acts this way that everybody's complaining about now. They don't even realize that they're doing it. It's not like they get together in some secret meeting every month and say, okay, so what is going to be the narrative that we're going to use to destroy Donald Trump and let's reaffirm our commitment to the globalist order. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's like they've been trained.
HAGD. Thumbs up.
They've been conditioned to react a certain way because that's the way that the media has worked, and the people that get hired are the people that tend to react that way because they say, this guy, he knows how it works, right? And then the Democrats, they know, okay, all I got to do is I've just got to, slip my little leak to this right guy, or I just need to send my talking points to the right people on social media, and everything just kind of does that on its own.
Winstanza Mom says Kent State. My drama teacher at Prue Academy came from guerrilla theater and my grandfather was not sure I should take that class. Very conservative, old money, military colonel, during Nixon, fun.
Interesting. Yeah, the Kent, what's really weird to me, so to shift gears a second, but just because I'm being ADHD, I guess. The Kent State thing to me is fascinating. And the thing that's fascinating to me about Kent State was that after Kent State, the public overwhelmingly thought that the National Guard was justified in shooting those students. Can you believe that? To me, that's insane. To me, that's insane. But that was the way that I don't think that people knew anything about crowd control and all of those sorts of things. You watch like the Hong Kong thing, and if a protester even gets hurt, like really badly hurt, it's like, we're pointing it out and we're incensed. But they freaking killed students in there, said that was justified because the students should have listened to them. It's just totally crazy to me. Totally crazy. But yeah, I don't know. If Nixon hadn't have been impeached, things would probably be very different today too. Because you go back and look at some of Nixon's policies, right? He did a lot of things that were very Republican, like ending wars. Isn't that interesting? Donald Trump ended wars, Nixon ended wars. There's a lot of parallels between Trump and Nixon. But he also had a lot of things that Republicans today would be horrified about. Like, he was totally in on the price controls thing, right? It wasn't until Reagan came along that they got rid of the price controls. And even today, there's still price controls on things. We're still subsidizing farmers. It's been like, that's been there for like 30 years now. Isn't that interesting? History is an interesting thing. That also reminds me, because I've been watching about the Civil War, and one of the things that started the Civil War was like they really got the country into the mood where the South wanted to break off, was that there was this basically a religious extremist that had vowed to end slavery, and they like held up a town and like killed some guys and stuff, and then And yeah, the North was totally down with it, which to me is like, wow, I can't believe that you guys. I know he's a terrorist on your side, but you can't. But of course, I could see people doing that these days. But it was that dichotomy between people that really got them into the mode where it was like, we need to
Wimmer
break
Kevin
off.
says history is fun. As a German,
As a
I
German,
have to contradict face with tears of joy.
So when you see things like that today, you know, like they say, oh, an extremist. Well, like for instance, the Charleston or what was it called? Charlottesville. Sorry, the Charlottesville thing. And in retrospect, it's kind of feels, at least to a lot of people on the right, I think, kind of feels now like a distant memory that doesn't really matter anymore. But when you look at it in that context and you say, you know, like similar things in the past led to the bloodiest war in US history, it really makes you think twice, doesn't it? Really puts a different face on that whole thing. But I guess the difference with that was that hardly anybody on the right was saying that guy was, well, at least when they when all of the facts came out. There's still a lot of people on the right that don't know what happened because they didn't really report.
Winstan's mom says, Wimmer Kevin, I often wonder what Germany must think of the US debating a wall. I have some online friends over in Germany, but we discuss Jungian typology, not politics.
So somebody's stacking at 10.5.
Now I had taken my own short call at 3034.50.
I don't know. Wait, something just happened in Treasuries, and it might not be okay. He is pushing it. We could have followed that one, but I wasn't sure. Okay, now it's recovering. I was curious.
Winstan's mom says, say no to the FOMO, say yes to the dress for dancing, lol.
I guess that might be a long in the ES. He pushed it down and now he's letting it come back up. So is he going to push it again?
Says at Winstan's mom, you got it, girl. Say the last dance for me.
Is he going to let it come back up and then he's going to take it and push it down again? Well, I'd be careful because if it shows up again, you know, it's like the rock, paper, scissors thing. Is like, it's going to show up again. Everybody's going to want to short it because it was a short last time. Let's see what happens.
Winstan's mom says, I certainly will, ace. One must always save the best for last.
Donald Trump, 95% approval rating in the Republican
Winstan's mom
Party.
says The Big Short, good movie.
So here's another thing that's happening lately, because I haven't shared a lot of political stuff lately, but this one I think is important for you guys, right? Donald Trump says there's a 95% approval rating in the Republican Party, and that's a record. Listen, when you see a number that high, the first thing you should be thinking is maybe that number's not accurate, right? That's a real outlier. This is normal.
Ace Trade says now long signal at 3033.50.
Okay, I want to take that one. And similarly, when you hear record impeachment support, maybe that poll's not so accurate. Because that shouldn't ever happen. It's just your your first your first instinct should always be to question if the number is actually real. I don't understand why people don't do that. I'm not gonna get filled, thanks. Ukrainian officials will not testify in U.S. Congress in Trump impeachment inquiry, says Ukraine foreign minister. Mm-mm. Okay, well, I guess we missed it.
Winstanza Mom says, Seth, maybe one night you will consider live streaming and we can debate politics.
Yeah.
I know several people who would enjoy a political conversation.
Well, I would really like to start a second channel just for politics, but I just don't think that I have enough time to do it. I don't think I have enough time to really do a channel like that correctly. Maybe when I get a weightlifting platform set up in my garage and I don't have to, travel. That's like a good 40 minutes, hour of my day traveling to my gym.
Wimmer Kevin says, I must say I really hate us journalism. I mean headlines like XXX destroys, slaps, crushes
Right?
YYY. This is just stupid.
It's not like that in Europe, really, is it? Although, that doesn't mean it's not that Europeans don't have their own news bias. It's just in Europe, news is still boring.
Uzi Knesset says, oh yeah, and the claps back, shit lol. Uzi Knesset says Kamala Harris claps back at Trump lol.
Did she what? The last story I saw about Kamala Harris was her complaining that, basically the United States isn't ready for a strong black woman. Like when you hear them say something like that, it's basically like they're acknowledging that their campaign is over.
Winstanza Mom says boring. I am not sure Boris Johnson qualifies as boring.
But they don't try and spice up the headlines the way that they do in the United States. In the United States, the media is entertainment, and Europeans don't view it as entertainment. In the UK, a little bit. Okay, the UK is a little bit different, but like Germany, you go and read a translation of a Das Spiegel article, for instance, there's nothing.
Uzi Knesset says, I'm affirming what Wimmer Kevin said. Destroys, crushes, owns, claps back, all keywords for the algos. Wimmer Kevin says, I would say most media outlets in Germany are more conservative and don't use such ridiculous headlines. We have some big ones like Express or Bild, but they are more tabloid.
Now, media in the UK is interesting because in the UK, that basically tabloids are considered serious spots. So if this comes back to me and fills me at 33.50, do you think I still want it, Ace, or is the signal no good anymore? I think the signal's probably no good anymore.
Winstanza Mom says there is a tabloid journalism style in Britain, like The Sun.
Yep,
I imagine Germany has their rags, Wimmer. Wimmer Kevin says, yeah, Bild and Express are like The Sun. Ace Trade says, yeah, gone, take everything off.
Okay, so the Treasuries are still showing the weight. There was a lot that bought into 09.5. Okay, here's the E-mini open. Just confirmed that Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi's #1 replacement has been terminated by American troops. Most likely would have taken the top spot. Now he is also dead. Jeez, guys. Is it just me? Or has Donald Trump really lucked out on Syria? Everything just magically turned out for him on that one.
Winstan's mom says those are the kind of magazines you find in beauty salons.
Yeah.
Full of gossip and sensationalism.
In the US, people don't buy those because well, maybe people do buy them, but we know that nothing in it is true. Except for, I guess, apparently sometimes they do get scoops.
Winstan's mom says, do you ever watch TMZ?
Mm-mm.
Wimmer Kevin says, so are there any news about the Epstein investigation? Seriously, I'm reading nothing
No,
about
there's
that in
not.
any German media. I mean after his death.
He died, and the internet flipped out, and so the mainstream media covered it for like 2 days or something, and then everybody like forgot that it happened. And all this stuff about, well, they couldn't get camera footage and all that is like
the elites dropped the Epstein thing mad quick.
They dropped it mad quick. Yeah, it's super bizarre, man. I tell you what, I can't explain away that one, man. It's just like it's so obvious that there was that, or I don't want to say obvious, but
Wimmer Kevin says, wow, just wow.
Yeah, you would have to have a strong suspicion of foul play, and the media just dropped the story. Now I'm still seeing stuff about kind of related, busting of pedophiles and stuff like that. But the other thing that's weird is that they're not going after the
Ace Trade
madame.
says obvious, code word for I really want it to be true.
Yeah, obvious.
Uzi Knesset says no one wanted to touch that guy. He had way too many connections really high on both sides of our political dichotomy. No one wanted that. It was the one story that people were generally united on.
Yeah. The one thing though is that I really think that he wanted to kill himself. Think about this for a second, okay?
Winstan's mom says the Epstein story almost could not be written as a novel. It has everything from plastic breasts over the tub to a royal prince. Way too many important people involved.
If you're Epstein, okay, you want to kill yourself, okay? Because going to prison, if you go to prison for life, and that would be life, okay, you're not going to be treated very well there, okay? They don't treat you very well in prison, okay? And there's all of these rich and powerful people that you don't want to double cross, okay? So if I was Jeffrey Epstein, I wouldn't want to be alive anymore, okay? I wouldn't want to, it wouldn't be because I'm not mentally stable, okay? If he wanted to stay alive, that would be mentally unstable, okay? You're a mentally stable person that wants to off themselves, okay? That's the kind of person that is going to attempt to kill themselves, and then you get put under lock, and then you say, oh no, everything's fine, I don't want to kill myself, and you do that because you know that that's the only way that you can have the opportunity to kill yourself. So I think it's entirely possible that he killed himself. But the fact that all of these other things surrounding it, like that there wasn't a camera when there should have been, and the guards and all of that sort of stuff, pretty suspicious. And it's astounding that the media just dropped it so easily. Well,
Winstan's mom says, I hear you. If I knew that I was going to a place where physical torture, beatings and nothing but trouble lie ahead, and there was no way out, I would consider my options before someone else did.
Exactly.
Wimmer Kevin says, well, but didn't he leave notes about clients or something? I think I read something about that.
I don't know. Anything that he would do or say going into it, I wouldn't trust or consider reliable, because he would be doing everything to manipulate things so that he could off himself. He'd be giving them every reason to think that he wasn't going to do it, and that he was going to cooperate with them or something, so that their guard would be off. Hmm. Okay, so they did go lower. I didn't see any obvious stuff going on, nor am I seeing the volume, anything significant in the volume. But it's only been 5 minutes. Hmm. So that right there is not the way that I would expect this to behave. Taking a breather at 07.5 doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And 07 is where they had trouble before, so they didn't break the range.
Ace Trade says slow your roll, bro. I just wanted the robot to say that.
What obvious is a code word for I really want it to be true? I thought it was a pretty good. I really like it because honestly, if you had proof, you wouldn't say that it's obvious, right? You only say it's obvious when you can't really prove it, but it's so clear to you that the thing happened, right? It's like a thing that people say when we can't justify our own bias on an issue. I really like it. Mm-mm.
Ace Trade says no, I wanted to hear her rhythm. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain.
That's pretty good. Oh, you just wanted her to say slow your roll, bro. I gotcha.
Winstan's mom says sexy robot voice say slow and steady. Ace Trades slow your roll, bro. You sexy robot overlord and my master.
It's pretty good. I should go back and make it so that you can put like the strong quotes in it and everything. But I couldn't make it, I don't know, when I was doing the emphasis stuff, I couldn't really get it to do it. You know, I'm not going to trade in this area, so I'll show you what I mean, right?
Uzi Knesset says slow, steady, and moist.
Okay. Google TTS. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so here's the thing where you can test it. So we were using F, I think.
Ace Trade says possible short at 3033.75 if it comes back. Google Cloud text to speech.
Okay, cool. And I have mine sped up a little bit. Okay. So we go like 1.19.
Google Cloud text to speech.
Okay.
Winstan's mom says 1-1 was a racehorse, 2-2 was 1-2, when 1-1-1-1 race, 2-2-1-1-2. Ace Trade says and it shoots up there, never mind.
So I want it to be like, you see here you can do emphasis level. Substantial. So that's what I want her to say. I want her to say the disclaimer that I put at the beginning, right?
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. My head hurts.
Right. So I want her to say futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Right? How do you get her to say that?
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss.
See, the way that they do emphasis is weird. SSML, but I can make it so that you guys can use those sorts of things. let me come back here to the reference so we can see
Wimmer
all of
Kevin
the
says
things.
add an obviously after the loss. Ace Trades says mares eat oats and as eat oats and little lambs eat ivy. I kid will eat ivy too, wouldn't you?
Speak, break, strength. Extra weak, 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 medium, strong, and extra strong. What is extra strong?
Winstan's mom says ace investment question.
Futures trading
what
involves
do you know
substantial
and what do you
risk
think
of
about when
loss.
you consider
Futures
palladium?
trading involves
I am interested in
substantial
industrial demand
risk
metals.
of loss.
IQ says GM folks.
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss.
No, it's like,
Winstan's mom says Wimmer does German have a word for the opposite of deja vu?
or maybe I need to put it in there like that.
Winstan's mom says good morning, IQ.
Substantial. Let's see if that
Ace
changes
Trade
it.
says at Winstan's mom I'm as dumb as
Futures
a box
trading
of rocks
involves
in that
substantial
area.
risk of
Sorry.
loss. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss.
See, it's like the way that it works is that it's weird. It doesn't seem to. What about extra weak? What about extra weak?
Uzi Knesset says as I was going to St. Ives I met a man with 7 wives. Every wife had 7 sacks, in every sack was 7 cats, and every cat had 7 kittens. Cats, sacks, kittens, wives, how many of us were going to St. Ives? Winstan's mom says Ace Trades I think there is something there. I will do some Googling and drop little bon mot as I learn and then ask more questions later.
So let's see what they do with the weak emphasis.
Futures trading involves substantial
Uzi
risk of
Knesset
loss.
says grinning squinting
Futures
face.
trading involves
Wimmer Kevin says
substantial
at Winstan's
risk of
mom
loss.
yeah, Jajay's vu, but it's French I guess.
Doesn't make any sense. What if I get rid of the spaces around it?
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss.
And it doesn't seem to work very well with just like one word.
Ace Trade says at Winstan's mom would love to know more about it, but I feel like I get a pretty good return on my money in here. Plus you.
So you can tell it to read numbers certain ways and stuff like that, which isn't really terribly useful for us.
Wimmer Kevin says can you make the bot sing? For science of course. Winstan's mom says Jajay's vu. Pretty.
You actually probably could, but it would be incredibly difficult, I think.
Winstan's mom says ditto.
Oh, there's low Sprody. Prosody. Used to customize the pitch, speaking rate, and volume. So you could use the prosody to, if you put every word on it with a different relative with different semitones, I think you could get it to talk. Oh, okay. I was using the wrong. So here's moderate.
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Futures trading involves substantial risk of
Winstan's mom
loss.
says for they'll be to tattoo at 20 to TWOA rat tat 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 2 and the dragon will come when he hears the drum at a minute or 222 today at a minute or 222.
She says it so fast. When you do that, you can really tell that she's speaking quickly. Oops.
Wimmer Kevin says rapper bot.
Rapper bot. Okay, let's try reduced.
Futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Futures trading involves
Substantial.
risk of loss.
All it does is change the volume of it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. Now, using the paragraph and stuff, that definitely helps.
Who invented the internet? The internet was invented by cats.
Winstanza Mom says play around for a second by adjusting your settings to a slower speed. From normal to 0.74 and suddenly you have Kimmel's Drunken Trump.
Right. Sequential. And then you can put media in there. Characters, ordinal. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some where they use this, and it's incredible what the way that they make it sound, especially the way that they handle paragraphs and things like that. And the annotation in their voice for sentences and so forth is really, really impressive. But I can't get her to say futures trading involves substantial risk of loss. Can't get her to say it like that. Don't know how to do it. Anyways. But I want to have the I want the beginning of the video. I don't know how so here's a good question for you guys is how do you use the replay videos if you watch the replay videos? Because it's like you go in and then you immediately know that there's going to be like 20 minutes of nothing
Ace
at the
Trade
beginning
says
of it,
going
right?
to be gone for about 45 minutes. Uzi Knesset says just have her say, you're gonna lose, turn back now, lol.
I should totally do that. I'm totally going to stick that in there, Uzi. There's the disclaimer. I'm going to say that, and then she's going to say, you're going to lose, turn
Winstanza
back
Mom
now.
says bye, Ace.
Anyways, but I want there to be like a little interesting at the beginning. So
Winstanza Mom says ROFL.
I'll start the stream, and the start will be this, and then she will read that out, and then there will be this cool video, and it will be like, super dramatic and get you all hyped up for this stream or whatever, and it has some of my best quotes, and then it will drop to
Ace
drop
Trade
to
says
black
that
and bring up
Winstanza Mom
the
wilted flower.
drop to black and bring up the countdown, something like that.
Winstanza Mom says melting.
You're gonna lose, turn back now. It was funny. The way do it again. The way that she said that was great.
Uzi Knesset says I still have a screenshot of you double middle fingering the camera lol.
Oh man. So I'm still working on that, and I don't know if I'll have any time to work on it this week, but the difficulty that I've had is downloading the
Knesset
videos
says
back
you're
again.
gonna lose, turn back now.
Wait, do it with an exclamation mark. See if you do, we could do a couple of different weird ways, like.
Uzi Knesset says you're gonna lose, turn back now. Speculator Seth says you're gonna lose, turn back now.
See, she does change the way that she says it a little bit.
Winstanza Mom says turn back now.
Turn back now. So can you make her say derivatives trading involves, substantial risk of loss.
Wimmer Kevin says you're gonna lose. Exclamation mark. Turn back now double exclamation mark. Speculator Seth says derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss.
That actually wasn't bad, except for that I misspelt derivatives. Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss. Off. Loss? Exclamation point.
Speculator Seth says derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss.
There you go. That's how we're going to do it. Turn back now. You're going to lose. Well, there did push it down through the bottom of the range.
Says, warning. Turn back now. Ahead lies substantial risk of loss. We are not responsible for your stupidity if you do not listen to us.
Oh, that was even better. Great disclaimer, guys. And then we can put that at the beginning of the video instead of just after this, you know, because the thing is that when I start the video, I go and I eat, so I don't want to have to sit there and say something and then, you know, start the countdown or something. I want to be able to just come in, start streaming, and then click.
Knesset says streamer
Countdown.
Assumes no liability for misappropriation of funds or assumption of substantial risk.
All right. It's kind of funny. I wish there was more control. I wish there was more control over it, because sometimes it's really good. No, I just had a little hiccup there. Sorry. Sometimes the way that she reads it is really good, and sometimes it's disappointing. I guess there's nothing as effective as just
Knesset
good.
Says financial death found here, skull and crossbones.
Skull and crossbones. Well, if we had sold when that initial thing came up, you could have been short 10.5 and you would have done really well. Now, though, I'm not. And the E-mini did go. I don't think we ever would have gotten filled, though. Where was it? It was like something 33.50, huh? It was right there. That was about where they opened. So I think it was probably a good thing that we didn't get involved in that, but it would have worked. So look, he's stacking on it at 05.5, trying to push it further.
Knesset says no, we gotta wait for news in 8 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's like
Winstanzamom says I have 3 friends who create content like you, and then the Holistic Ferret Forum, and all of my online friends like you are creative and have charisma.
Oh, thank you.
Your channels are excellent and you need admin.
Well, there's certainly a lot more that we could do with the channel if I had more time, but I kind of look at it and I'm like, you know, but would it really provide that much more value to you guys? I don't know. You know, like the thing is that the value that we provide is the trading, and then when the markets are slow, with the camaraderie and the entertainment. You notice that today there's not nearly as many people watching as there normally are. We're around a dozen, and other days we've been around 2 dozen. I think a lot of people come in and they're saying, "Oh, he's talking politics again. Not interested today." Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting that they traded up into that at 05.5. When I'm seeing and we're down at the bottom and then he's stacking really big, that's kind of like a warning. Because why is he stacking like there? If they have the momentum in their direction, they shouldn't necessarily have to do that unless they're trying to do a level break. And if he does a level break, then that should cause domos to fall.
Winstanzamom says I am looking around online and somewhere there must be a service or subscribers who will do the legwork and the admin stuff so you can create and produce content and the channel runs smooth.
Yeah, but I don't ever really have people come in where we have to do significant administration. And normally by the time you get to that point, there's enough people
Winstanzamom says not enough characters.
Yeah.
Lol.
There's enough people in the channel that you can set people up as administrators and they just, swat people for them. And I have a lot more flexibility than most streamers do because I'm not inside of a game where I can't go and interact. I can come over here and I can kick somebody myself, which most streamers can't do. My mouth is dry. Another tick up. That's maybe a good reversal play there. I don't know. I don't know why they are pushing through here, and they're in the opening range area as well, which makes me a
Wimmer Kevin
little...
says I watch your stream because I am bored.
Yeah,
Waiting for setups is
it
tedious.
totally is.
Especially the last days. Sometimes I sit 8 hours here and don't make a single trade. So watching something helps, not doing bad trad.
Yeah. Well, and talking to people keeps your brain engaged. Hopefully it should be engaged in the markets, but yeah, there's only so many chemicals in there, you know. and you have to rejuvenate it by doing certain things. But that's the value that we provide. And there's other things that I could do. Like I could go and just make a consolidated video of every day that is better for viewers. Would that really provide that much more, what is the word, value for people? I'm not so sure that it would. I think that the value of the commentary and the interaction is significantly diminished after the stream is done. You know, at that point, the reason that for the replays is so that you can look at the order flow. You know? That's how I look at it, at least.
The other part of keeping brain engaged is you be missing a trade.
Yeah. Well, you want to be... There's kind of a balancing act. We need to be... You know, we can be engaged in talking, but we need to be there to take advantage of something if it happens.
Eric, and if you want to hang out with the Bohemians, look at his channel. Psychology, typology, conversation, and we have people who are online overseas.
Oh, that's cool. Anyways, I don't know. There's other things that I can do, but I think that my focus right now is more on the videos that I'm making every other week and trying to make a couple of those that are a little bit more entertaining for people. Because I think I've provided most of the cut and dry content that is just like informational. But now I think we need to get more into an entertainment value type stuff. So I'm way too serious of a person, I think. Anyways, am I going to take this up at 6.5?
Winstan's mom says Wimmer talking with famous people host Eric. It's always 420 and he sings is an ENTP. I am INTJ.
It's probably the opposite.
It's crazy fun and he is the opposite of a Seth, but both are engaging and entertaining.
I thank you for saying I'm entertaining. I appreciate it. I am a little bit. I don't think that I'm susceptible to flattery, but I am susceptible to positive feedback when I've done something and they say, "Good job, Seth." It really makes me feel good. Okay, there you go. So they'll flip there, and maybe they are going to push up now. But are they going to be able to push up past the 07 area, which was the support from before? Because this is now going to become resistance.
Wimmer Kevin says, guess I can check it out.
Notice, by the way, that we never really got a signal anywhere. I guess we got this one right here when the 5-year took a dive. But that was the one that I said, like, I better be careful. Oh, I missed a couple of stuff in the channel.
IQ says, you have work to do, shut down your social media, a quote on my screen, lol. Winstan's mom says everyone enjoys validation and affirmation and people are far too slow to compliment people and too quick to complain.
Yeah, but different people are more susceptible to different types of ways of going on. I was short bub. Still like the trend. I was about trying to sell the knob. 158.14.
Winstan's mom says IQ who sent this little reminder, lol.
Okay, here comes the news. Let's see here. We're looking for consumer confidence of 128.2. Okay, the number is 125.9 versus the 128 expected. So the number is bad. We're seeing a little bit of buying. E-mini is taking a little bit of a hit, but not too much. They don't, at the moment, they don't seem terribly affected by the news. The liquidity hasn't come back yet, though. Lihan Xiao is posting something. China implements the policy of freedom of religious belief. The reincarnation of living Buddhas is an institution of succession unique to Tibetan Buddhism and government and fixed religious rituals and historical conventions. The institution has been there for... right. Don't buy that one for a second. I thought he was going to say something about trade war stuff. Oh well.
Winstan's mom says, Wimmer, how many languages do you speak?
Uptick again.
Wimmer Kevin says German, English, Portuguese.
Portuguese, huh? I haven't seen Gabriel in a few weeks, have we? Our Portuguese speaker. Oh, what's going on here in the 6J here? Oh, that's interesting.
IQ says brigado.
So the 6J is started to turn up, but the correlation is not very strong for some reason.
Ekareo says I am.
In fact, here the correlation has gone negative a little bit. It's very curious.
Winstan's mom says, oh, and Seth. You won't lose
Different
Wimmer to
times.
Hysteric's channel. Different times for broadcasting and he sleeps in and is on CA time. Wimmer, amazing. La Haze is a base that I often visited, and Germany. IQ says anyone long ZB? IQ says low equals 06. Live action says I am long ZB from 129,060.
Okay. How can I get Twitter to move?
Live action says ZN. Winstan's mom says U.S. Treasury yields fell Tuesday as the Federal Reserve was set to start its two-day meeting where its policymaking committee is expected to lower interest rates for the third time this year.
Tweet that. Pull this back down. Government is now threatening to pull the general election bill if Labour insists on amendment to enfranchise 3.4 EU citizens. Wait, what? They really are trying to enfranchise 3.4 EU citizens? Are you kidding me? Why would they do that? Isn't that some sort of a poison pill? That could be part of why we're seeing movement. So if I come to this 6B, let's just duplicate a new tab. Hold on here. Hopefully it takes us, okay. Features 6B. Now that looks pretty random too. Euro is moving. 6J, futures, 6E.
Live Action says interesting, I have volume prints at 129.050. Seth, did you refresh?
I mean, I saw some stuff happen at 050. See the 2292. Oh, no. I see. What happened, Live Action, was they traded down to 05 and then they ticked up and they pushed back down and nobody sold it into 050 at that time. But I do see that 430 went through there at that price. It's just that sell got reset. Okay, so I can now see that something's going on in 6E.
Live Action says I have 220 contracts sold there.
Live Action says I have 220 contracts sold there. Yeah, I don't know. I think that they pushed down there and people hit into it a couple of times, but then the last time that they went in, it would have been like they ticked up. Since I only see, well, do I see? Yeah, I only see one tick there. So it must have been like they ticked down and then they ticked up. Nobody bought 06. So then they ticked down. Nobody sold 05.
The
and they
FOMC
ticked back
meeting
up.
gets underway today and will conclude tomorrow, but investors will be made to wait for the updated dot plot until December, wrote Kenneth Brew, a
Oh.
strategist at Societe Generale.
Oh.
Winstanzamam says, what looks like a breakthrough between the US and China suggests the Fed has the luxury to take out more insurance and can bide its time on forward guidance until after the APEC summit next month.
Yeah. We were talking about that earlier when we pulled up the CME tool. See, I'm having a hard time seeing a fundamental reason to take a trade here. But I think that some of this movement is because of Brexit stuff. Mm-mm. I don't know. But you notice, I'm just looking at, like the big orders down in here. Even after the news, they're not participating. And we had a strong move down, but then they balanced back out at 08. So somebody pulled a quick one on them, but it looks like that it was just somebody wanted it to move, I guess, or maybe because of the Brexit stuff, and then everybody got out and it balanced back out again.
Winstanzamam says Japanese insurance companies were raising their allocations to foreign bond and stocks for the 6 months through March 2020.
Well, so it seems that China is selling a lot of bonds right now, and Japan is
Winstanzamom
buying
says
them back
Japanese
up.
insurers carry significant holdings of U.S. Treasuries and corporate debt because they offer richer returns than Japanese sub-zero
Yeah.
yielding government debt.
The Europeans sold, Chinese and Europeans sold, Japanese bought. And that's why we moved down so strongly, but it was so slow. It's because the Japanese were still a big buyer, probably. We can't know that for sure, but there's a report that comes out that shows the foreign holdings. And we look back at in October, over the month of October, and see how their positions changed and see what the difference was.
Winstanzamom says nearly 80% of the 43 respondents believe the Fed will cut interest rates on Wednesday, according to the CNBC Fed survey of fund managers, economists and strategists. IQ says ZBCR equals 13.
Well, 13 is not high enough, right? It's normally 16, isn't it? And also that 80% of respondents believe they'll cut interest rates. I think that the CME Fed calculator is predicting a 95% chance of a cut tomorrow. It would be extremely surprising if they didn't cut rates tomorrow. The market would be shocked and appalled, frankly. They would be very upset.
Winstanzamom says but 63% believe the Fed will pause in its rate cuts for the remainder of the year. On average, the respondents, fund managers, economists and strategists, think the next cut will come in February.
So they only think 20% chance that they're going to cut in December. Which is kind of weird, but okay. But I don't think that it's the rate was going to be what ends up mattering tomorrow. We'll see. But I think that the thing that's going to end up mattering tomorrow is if they discuss any kind of quantitative easing.
Live Action says I guess I should close this CN if it's 80%, but if they don't this would be a real winner. Winstanzamom says still, 40% believe the Fed is done cutting at least through 2020. Next cut, the Fed funds rate would re-enter the zone where there is no evidence further cuts help the economy, wrote John Donaldson.
I would look at it like, if I come over here to this chart, and I look at ZN, okay.
Winstanzamom says fear of missing out, warning, lol.
I would say that this rate cut is like this whole area is justified within a rate cut in October. Okay. So now what they're trying to price in is, will they say something about quantitative easing or the repo facility? Will they give any kind of forward guidance that would let us have a better idea of if they will cut in December or February? That sort of a thing, right? And then that would be what would be necessary to, bust us down in here or to get above this right here. Right? But there seems to be that over the past week, there have just been some foreign people that have been selling. I think that this move right here was foreign entities selling. China and Europe sold, and the big tell was these two moves right here. Those were the Brexit days. Okay. And then we had this slow and steady turn here. Oh, also there was trade war stuff. Okay. So that was kind of the tell. And then when it happened, all of the foreign owners and probably the countries themselves dumping bonds. And it's kind of low like that until today. You get this teeny tiny little look like, well, maybe we are going to buy out. But then it kind of got dashed down. So I don't think at the moment, the market doesn't seem to think that that the Federal Reserve is going to come out tomorrow and be super dovish. So if they do, and they say something that makes it seem like, oh, they actually are, there's a good chance that they're going to lower in December, all of that sort of a thing, then the upside could be really, really strong. Whereas on the downside, unless they say something really, really hawkish, which I think is extremely unlikely, your downside potential isn't as high. But for today, just looking at this, doesn't look to me like... just doesn't look to me like there's big players involved. Doesn't look to me, I guess there was some Brexit stuff that was maybe involved in this. But then it balanced. Overall, I don't think I'd take a trade today. I thought that maybe I was going to, but I didn't. Part of it was that I was thinking that I was going to get a long trade, and it never gave it to me, but look at my indicator in the 10-year. We've hardly had a spike above 1500. So even the level 2 is just really dead. Really dead.
Winston's mom says Freud's theory of the ego is the rider on a horse. Our basic instinct for fight or flight is the horse, while our ego believes he is leading the horse.
The child left his homework on the desk. Oh, man. No, that reminds me of something I forgot about yesterday. Because I come home, they're doing homework. These are elementary school kids.
Wimmer Kevin says better to take no trade than a bad trade. A lesson I also needed to learn.
Yeah. Well,
Winston's mom says, is he camera shy?
No. I think he's come on before. I don't recall. Anyways, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. You know what? When we saw that spoof at 10, I could have taken that. I mean, I knew that it's a good signal. It doesn't work every time. I'd say it's probably a 60% trade. It's not quite as good of a trade when it's slow like it's been. But, given the context, everything, risk, reward, all that, I could have taken that. But I didn't because it was slow. So, I don't know. It's okay. Anyways, I don't know. The kids aren't terribly interested. But the thing is, on YouTube, if you have kids in the video, then it disables comments and stuff like that. It's not, really sucks that they're doing that.
Winston's mom says homework. You were going to tell us about a homework story.
Well,
I remember those homework days, mine and theirs.
Wasn't a
I
story.
love the school days.
It's just I never had homework in elementary school. Did you have homework in elementary school? Like, that to me is a little crazy.
Winston's mom says no.
See, it's like now in elementary school. See, what's happened is they've learned that students whose parents are more involved in their homework or in their school activity, that the student has a higher probability of success. And so they are intentionally giving kids busy work to take home so that the parents have to do the homework with them. That's what's going on, or at least that's my understanding of it. And I don't know, some of the homework that I get, I think is kind of silly. I look at it and I'm like, well, it's not.
Winstanza Mom says projects. The children had to make little projects but no homework per se. And my daughter was in the gifted program. I always volunteered at the schools.
The thing that's frustrating to me about their homework is that the actual thing is always simple. You know, it'll be like, for him at least, you know, here's a math story problem. Because they're doing percentages right now. So it's like, what percentage of here's a story, what percentage of the people are X thing? And you just say, well, it's this over this, and that's it. But they always ask the question in some weird, stupid way that makes it unclear what they actually want you to do, which just drives me crazy. And I don't know if they do that to piss off the parents or what. That it has something to do. There's got to be some reason for it, for them to be so, I don't know, just not straightforward about, you know, what they're trying to practice. But the thing that bothers me is that they don't start working on it until after I come home, because I usually come home late.
Mom says, have they given the children a personality test yet?
Nah, I don't think they do that in school. I don't think they do that in school because there's you know, not a lot of what do we say, scientifically backed evidence that says that doing the MTBI tests and giving it to you is actually beneficial to people, if that makes sense. There's a lot of controversy over it still. I think that it's a good framework to use to teach people that, you know, there are different types of personalities and here's how you can approach different kinds of personalities. But when you try and turn it into a scientific thing, then all of a sudden it's
Winstanza Mom says,
you know?
if you know their personality types, budding types, then you can predict and understand how they approach schoolwork. We call this social engineering, kind of. Kaka Silva says, do you not do trading for full-time?
No, I don't do it full-time. You know what? On one hand, I wish that I did do it full-time, but on the other hand, I don't know if I could handle that kind of pressure. I think I would rather it always be kind of a hobby, but I have a day job. Usually around this time, well, here in 10 minutes or so, is around the time that I stop trading and then I drive into my day job. And I'm a computer programmer, essentially. Well, to be more specific, right now the group that I work with is doing site reliability engineering. So we write applications that allow the development teams to monitor their software when it's deployed, essentially, to see what's going on the servers and so forth. So that's what I do right now. Before that, we were writing tools for the QA team.
Winstanza Mom says, look up Dario Nardi at UCLA. He does neural imaging and brain scans easily show the difference between people who process information through sensing and who uses an abstract or subject intuitive style.
Yeah. But the thing is, when it comes into scientific, is that they want to see, people that went through the MBTI training were more effective at X thing than the people that didn't. You know what I mean? Anyways, but no, the thing that bothers me is that they don't do the homework until I get home. Which, you know, I usually don't help them necessarily, but I don't get home until like 8 o'clock our time sometimes. And they're supposed to go to bed at 9. So they're doing their homework like an hour before they go to sleep. And here's the thing. My wife, she was homeschooled, so she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand it at all. And she didn't have the experience of that the kids are going to have of going through like honors classes and things like that, right? She took the curriculum, you know, she did all the tests. She went to university and she did just fine in university as far as I understand. But she doesn't understand the whole thing of being in an honors or an AP class and all of the homework that they give you and the pressure that they put on you to do all of this work. I don't think she quite understands that. And so I'm sitting here like, you can't she says, well, they come home and they've just been in school all day. The last thing that I want to do is force them to do homework. But you know what, man? When in 2 years, because that kid will be in junior high in 2 years, okay? A couple more years, that's not going to work. And you probably better get them used to it now. Like, you can take a breather for about an hour, but then you probably should do the homework because you're not going to have enough time with just an hour in a few years. and you meaning my wife, are going to need the time too, because she didn't take trigonometry, she didn't take calculus, and they're probably going to be taking those, and so she's going to need the time to be able to look at it and understand the content too. So that was like a little thing on my mind that just kind of came there, but to me, it's just so interesting that they give elementary kids homework now. It's like so silly. It's just so silly to me. It's, like they spend 8 hours at school anyways. Well, is it really 8 hours? They go from 8, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7 hours.
Mom says in high school, my daughter transferred to a CAT program. The work in that program was way too much for even Tay, who graduated from the Navy nuclear program. Some people thrive under that. She didn't.
Totally. Well, I would have liked to have bought the Treasuries. Oh, okay. Hold on here. Okay. I'm not quite sure. I can't explain that, but the way that it traded into it kind of reinforces the trade. Anyways, I don't feel like I answered Kaka Silva's question completely. Because he was saying, you don't do it full time. I don't do it full time. It's a hobby. I don't even always trade live. So today, this trade, because it's a slow day and everything, I'm going to take it on sim because I'm not terribly confident on it. I've been trying to be really stingy with my live account past few weeks. But yeah, because the thing you gotta understand, and the reason why I was getting into that, is that we seem to have this really bizarre idea of what a profitable trader is. We think that
Uzi Knesset says stingy is good right now, lol.
We think that you turn this corner, and then all of a sudden you're a consistently profitable trader, and you can talk to that person, and you can consider them a consistently profitable trader, and all of this sort of a thing. But I think the reality is kind of more that they're going to come in, and they will have had a period that was incredibly successful, and then the other periods that they're going to have are going to kind of be kind of wishy-washy, but they make money here and there. You're not going to be able, it's going to be rare that you're going to come across somebody that makes money literally every day for years and years on end. That just doesn't happen, And so when I kind of get questions like that, I feel like...
Mom says, Seth, give Kaka a quick background so he understands you are not a hobbyist but actually work in the business and also have a degree and a background in entertainment.
Well, I know my degree is in computer science. But I did work for Goldman Sachs for 6 years, so there are some things about the way that the markets work and the way that the algorithms and the banks work that I understand a little bit about. That has been very, very useful, for sure. But I didn't learn to trade there, and that's the important thing. Because I think when he asks a question like that, he's thinking, okay, is this actually a profitable trader? Is this somebody that I can actually listen to? And I'm just saying, I don't think that that's the right approach. I don't think that I would go down to people and say, I'm a profitable trader. Just because I think that the question is not useful. I'm profitable in some markets, and I'm not profitable in other markets. And there's a lot of different ways that I could slice things out in my different activities to say whether I've, made money on this and not on this, and I made money during this time, and I made money during this time. I think if you added it all together, I would be a little bit negative, just a little bit negative right now. But, I don't think that that's the useful thing. I think the thing that you would want to be looking at more is like, okay, did they understand their strategy? Do they understand why their strategy works? Do they understand when it works, and is this a market when their strategy works and when it doesn't. And the thing that I would say on this one is that my strategy is a little bit sketchy in this kind of action, which is why I'm trading it on Sim. Make sense? So I don't know if that's what he was thinking or not, but I just wanted to make sure that he understood that. The place when my strategy tends to work is when
Winston's
we're
mom
really
says
moving.
your best trade this year is a very good story. I do not know the name of that episode, but you will.
Do you mean the 16 tick winner one? I don't know if that's my best, but it's one of the more popular one. That one was fun. You know, the funny thing is that I had another 16 ticker like a couple of days later, but I had lost a ton on it as well. Okay, good. So I just, and tell you what, there's a lot of people out there trying to.
Yes.
There's a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of new traders, and I think it's really those are the people that sell them that idea. It's like, I'm a profitable trader. You can listen to me. It's like you're never there. You're never there. It's always a struggle. Trading is always going to be a struggle because the market continually changes, you know? The market continually changes and you might have a really good edge and then it just completely disappears. I've been noticing one channel that I've been watching a little bit of because they're the most popular. Hold on a second.
Uzi Knesset says she's a fickle beast.
Yeah, she is.
Winston's mom says they are the tour bus drivers who take you to the casino.
But the warrior trading guy, he's had a couple of really nasty days lately. And then I saw it, and I don't really watch the videos, but I just kind of look at the headlines. But he was saying that he was starting over with a new account for some reason. And I think that the reality is that he's had a strategy that is basically momentum buys and stocks that has worked pretty good in this market, but over the past few weeks has not worked very well at all. You know? And so he had a period of profitability, and now he's probably
go through a divorce.
I don't know. That could be. You know, I've noticed that a lot of those people. So here's one thing that I find really weird is like I've seen a lot of YouTubers like that they went through a nasty divorce or whatever. And I've seen a lot of YouTubers with really popular channels talking about significant failures of theirs. Well, what just happened there is not what we wanted to see, so. That's why we take it on Sim. Oh, only 2. That's not bad. It does look like the E-mini's buying up, though. That might be why they're pushing. But the reason why I wanted to take it long was because of all this buying here. But then they came against it. That's not good. So I think that invalidated the trade. Anyways, there's another guy. I think is like the tech lead or something like that. And I think his thing was that he was a technical lead on a team at Google. But all of the videos that I've watched of him have been like, my failure this, my failure that. Like he talked about how he get divorced and talked about he tried trading and he failed at trading and things like that. And I was like, okay. And there was this other guy.
Action says, Seth, why did you close? I went in again.
You went in again? Did you go long? Did you go long? I'm seeing it. It's you know, I still think there's a buy in here somewhere. I just don't think I caught the right spot. That's all.
Live action says yes.
Yeah. So do you see where I'm saying that we came down, we came 1 tick short. Now we're seeing a lot more level 2 activity. And then we came up, we stopped, and now we're coming down, we're getting the level 2 activity again. So that suggests to me that somebody is trying, a longer term buyer is trying to buy it in through here. But he's pushing it down, and I didn't want him to push it 4 ticks against me, you know, because I took what, 06? Oh, I took 06 half, right? So there was 2. Here there's going to be 3, probably 4 or 5.
Winstanza Mom says, speaking of divorce, have you seen how contentious Rudy's divorce is?
No.
She took his cable box and his remotes when she left, and he is arguing they can't be in the same club at the same time.
You talking about Rudy Giuliani?
Winstanza Mom says, oof, sorry I hit press in the middle of your explanation.
That's fine. That's fine. I need to, I do at some point want to make a change to the bot so that it will only start reading them when I stop talking. But I would have to rewrite it in a different
Mom
language.
Says Rudy Giuliani. Live Action says NASDAQ looks weak, and without all the indices following through and where there, I feel another ZB long might have a chance.
Yeah, I think I think you have a good thesis there, Live Action. I took it off because my spot was clearly wrong. See? Like, I could tell that they were going to go for the low again, and I didn't want to get stopped out. Like,
IQ says ZB, I am looking for 158.05 area.
I was looking like, you know what, this is the one where I hold on to it and they stop me out and they go lower, and then they flip around, you know? So he's pushing it to try and get filled. The question is, how far does it go? And if it goes, does that cause other dominoes to fall? So that spot didn't work. Probably we sit back and wait again and see if they do it. And the other thing is the E-mini did kind of buy pretty strong there. You say that the NASDAQ looks weak, huh? So, I don't know. I think it could work, but that was why I took mine off. That and, you know, it's 8:30, so. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So there's this other YouTuber that, man, his is like, has to do with programming too, I think. And everything on his channel is basically like how he's been a complete failure at everything in life except for being on YouTube. And he does stuff for programming, but he's kind of like, you know, anti the businesses. Like, he's like, they're dumb and they're not hiring the right people and they're not doing this or that. And I'm like, there's like, why would anybody listen to this guy? He's like, if you want to get a job, this is not the guy that you want to be listening to. But he had a ton of viewers. I was like, how does this guy have so many viewers? I don't understand. Well, I do understand. I think that I always say those sorts of things. I'm always thinking in my head, though, like, I would like more subscribers. How come I don't have more subscribers? Well, Seth, you see, you have a type of content that has an extremely narrow audience, and even a part of that extremely narrow audience might not be interested in talking, you know, subscribing because, you know, they're doing their own thing, and it's kind of boring anyways, and when they're done, they don't want to do anything with it, and I'm not that entertaining. That's why we need to make more entertaining content and things that people outside of the core subject will understand, but is still within the subject for the algorithm's purposes. Not politics, basically. Before I was using politics, and you know what? Some of those videos were successful and brought in a lot of views, but they didn't help the channel.
Last night, himself and I were talking about how conservative we were when young and how odd it is to see life now. Look back and realize there is something to be progressive. Not socialist.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of a weird thing. You know, they say that, like, as people get older, they tend to get more conservative. Oh, I don't think it's really that. Because when we use the word conservative in American politics, what we really mean is a conservative interpretation of the Constitution. And I don't think that people's interpretation of the Constitution changes as they get older. I really don't think so. I think that what has happened is just that as we've gotten older, the left has gone so far crazy. you know, because they are like literally, you know, endorsing socialism over there, many of them. And so, yeah, of course, all of the people that grew up in that time period where the lesson was very, very clear that those socialist policies were bad ideas. Of course, they're gonna move
Ace
away
Trade
from
says
that.
back, what did I miss? Winstan's mom says of course, but we simply realize how little growth the middle class experiences. My salary in the military grew maybe 2 to 3% and yet the same Congress grew 20-something percent. Our standard of living.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's... So here's the thing. I think that we're a little bit too focused on the wage. Because, yeah, the wages have been stagnant, but the quality of life is not. Quality of life in the United States is vastly superior to what it was in the 70s. I mean, good grief, guys. We're sitting here talking to each other on the internet, live video across the country. That was something that people couldn't have even dreamed of in the 70s. You can have your own television channel now. And anybody in the world, literally anybody in the world can see it. You don't have to get approved by the TV station or the government or anything like that. It's pretty crazy, right? Pretty crazy. But how did that... Oh.
Live Action says at IQ 158.05 looks good. Wait to tomorrow after FOMC and you might get 155 equals 05.
Oh, really, man? Oh, we'll see. But anyways, where have the improvements come from? It's come from everything being cheaper, right? Almost everything's cheaper. The only thing that hasn't really gotten cheaper is housing and education.
Were a luxury when our parents were kids. So were washing machines, lol.
And
Winstan's mom says buys us Starbucks and we have more stuff and more choices, but what have we done in infrastructure? I do agree, and I am very grateful and fortunate to be retired so early, and we all have been spoiled.
Yeah, I'll get to infrastructure eventually. They all want to do it. It's just that the political climate makes it impossible for anybody to actually do anything useful. But eventually there will be a break and there will be more infrastructure. It's kind of sad that they didn't do more infrastructure after the financial crisis. You know, they had kind of like those shovel-ready jobs, but when you really look at it, they didn't really make a huge impact the way that it should have. It's unfortunate. You know, the only things that haven't really gotten cheaper are education and housing. And, well, there's reasons why housing goes up, because we don't build enough. Look, now it goes. Now you buy it.
Live Action says some volatility here. We hit stops?
I don't know. That was a little weird.
Winstan's mom says Ace, you missed me. Ace Trade says at Winstan's mom, of course I did. Live Action says Bond's very, very good to me. Ace Trade says birds awake. Winstan's mom says if Seth ran a second channel for political debate, would you participate? And Ace, Seth, do the women in your life talk politics?
You know what? My wife listens to it and everything, but she's not super into it. But it's really more to the time. Like, the problem with it is that I go to the gym and then I will often not get home until 8 o'clock. You know, so when am I going to make videos? And now if I had the gym here, then I would have a little bit more time to do that. and then maybe I would get home by about 5, do my workout, be done by like 6:30, and then from 7 to 8 I could make a video or something on stuff that happened that day.
Ace Trade says
So
that
that's
Vince
why.
Mom, yes, the women in my life talk politics, but like Seth, it's probably the time thing.
The time thing. She only knows what's going on because I tell her. And usually she has absolutely no. I'm like, can you believe X thing happened? And she's like, I didn't hear anything about that. Your people on Facebook aren't talking about it. Her people on Facebook, they don't talk about that. Her friends aren't into politics. That's one of the things that I think the people in the cities don't understand. Because you guys, city dwellers, okay, like the news, it's everywhere. That's what you talk about. You go into the office, people are talking about the news. It's all over your social media feed. You see it everywhere, right? But my wife, she grew up in the country. They don't give a crap about that stuff, man. They just want to be left alone. They just want to be left alone. Well, I don't like my spot. 05 would have been great, but it's kind of, they had that push up, and now they're doing they're kind of doing this thing. They're kind of doing the chop zone thing, and there's some heavy volume going through here as well. Okay, now that 07 half pulled really quickly. Another thing is that the E-mini looks toppish. They look like they're speculating on the E-mini turning. It's only going to take a few ticks down, and then the E-mini, the indexes could turn extremely negative. Okay. So there was some volume right there. Are we seeing some... Election could suddenly be off the table again now that the opposition can table amendments. Corbyn signals that he'll support ones to give votes to 16-year-olds and to settled EU citizens. Ministers say if those provisions get included, they'll withdraw their own bill. We support the rights of EU citizens with settled status to vote in elections in this country. What a load of bullshit. Can you believe? That's crazy. That's like saying, well, the Democrats are already saying that in the United States that, illegal immigrants should be able to vote. I guess it's different because those people are illegal, but man, I can't believe that any politician can openly support something like that and use it in a maneuver like that. So where does that put us? That must certainly be why the Treasuries seem to be reacting, though. SNP's shadow leader of the House says the election will be December 12th. The general election train is left the station and cannot be stopped now. 12th of December it is. So they're saying that it's still going to happen? I don't know. This is kind of weird. I don't understand what's going on. Though it's time for me to go, and I have a chance to take it off here at break even. I would really like that right there. But see, they're being stingy. Okay, so I see a couple of bids below us in the E-mini. It's certainly turned. Let's just take this off so that I can get going. Sorry, guys. Well, that sucks because I had a good trade there, but, the timing and everything of it. I don't know. I don't know how good of a trade that actually is. Have a spot 276 in line. Come on. So they're definitely playing games with it here. Well, it's nice to know that this thing still seems to work, though. I mean, when we see those can be really good trades. So I want to be interested when I get into work to see if they move up, how much they actually move up. Because I think They could at least see 10. I think they could probably blow through all this liquidity up to here, maybe. How long has it been like that for? It hasn't been like that for that long, actually. So this liquidity above us is a relatively new thing. Well, fine. Be that way. They're like, oh, Seth wants out. Well, we're going to turn out now on him. Oh, Donald Trump tweeted something too. Nervous Nancy Pelosi is doing everything possible to destroy the Republican Party. Our polls show that it is going to be just the opposite. The do-nothing Dems will lose many seats in 2020. They have a death wish led by a corrupt politician, Adam Schiff. Would really like to see those polls. Okay, well, screw this. It doesn't matter. Clearly not the spot, though. They're going to come all the way back down. Well, that'll really suck. We'll see if they come back down here again. If they start doing it again. Anyways, it's time to go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll do the FOMC tomorrow, so we'll be there around noon. And yeah, I think that's about it. So we'll see you guys then. And in the meantime, stay profitable, friends.